While we try to be as helpful as possible, this podcast should not be considered as professional or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out professional advice for your own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.
Welcome back to another episode of the Enthusiast Lab. My name is Julia.
And I'm Nick.
And this is the Enthusiast Lab. We are podcasting in the AM today, and we're podcasting on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. So today we will see
Everything
how we
is
go.
fucking backwards. We'll see how we go. Definitely half asleep, but should be right.
So guys, if today's episode is not fab, not on
Blame
me.
Julia. Blame Julia. She's the one that said to come on a fucking Wednesday morning.
So today's episode is going to be about demo and rebuilds because we have had
Quite a few inquiries about this.
Yeah, quite a few inquiries. We've had a couple people ask us about it. We've had a few people mention that they want more info about it, so we thought we'll do an episode. But since we're in the AM, let's do a little recap of what's been happening in life.
Okay, you can do that. Go.
I feel like we haven't done this in a
No, we haven't. No.
we haven't done this in a hot minute where we've kind of talked about what's been going on, what have we been up to. We always this is so loud. We always deep dive straight into the episode. So last time we did this, I think we mentioned that we had gone to Scotland and got pretty sick in Scotland. No.
Went for a holiday, came back more exhausted than before we left. Food poisoning does that to you.
Yeah.
It was still a good holiday.
Still good.
We definitely missed out on a few opportunities by being sick, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's still cool to just get out of Perth.
Since then, in May, we went to Prague and Poland.
Yes.
Nick bought tickets to Rammstein. And yeah, we went to Prague for the Rammstein concert, and then we kind of just tacked on a bit of a holiday on either side of the concert.
It was really beautiful. Like, Prague was everything that you think it will be, it was, and better. Like, it's an old European city and country. But no, it's city.
It's city. Yeah, it's the capital.
Part of Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, Czech.
So that was amazing. Like all the Gothic architecture and all that was like right up our alley.
Yeah.
And then Poland, we drove around. So we just grabbed the car and just drove through across the states, or countries, whatever. And then we went to Auschwitz. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was.
It was a pretty humbling experience. Like, we read about it, about the history, and then when you're physically there, it was a bit, how you going? Especially when we went into one of those chambers.
Yeah. I guess Prague, like everyone says Prague is amazing, go to Prague. I actually will back that up.
100%.
I think that was incredible. And then, Auschwitz, it hits different in the sense of, like, you realize just how much destruction
there was
and how much pain and agony and sorrow and just despair that was in these camps. And
basically it was fucked up. And like seeing that camp 2, the big one, that was pretty intense. The first one you see and you're like, oh shit, okay, is this what this is all about? And you read, they tell you about the history with the guided tours and shit. And you're like, fuck, this is pretty bad. And then go to the second one where it was basically in the extermination camp, and then you're like, fuck, this feels different.
Yeah, it does. It hurt like the soul, like your soul felt heavy there.
But anyways, on a more brighter note, it was cool to see. Definitely worth the visit. Like, about all the shit that's actually happened in the past. It's definitely worth going to if someone's thinking of going into Europe or has the time. You can go there for a couple of days and smash out most of Poland.
Yeah. Other than that, we came back the day after Poland actually, and we started renovating the office.
Yes.
We redid the floors downstairs, got a new table, and kind of just gave the
Bit
office,
of a spruce up.
yeah, a bit of a spruce. just to kind of change the vibe, change the atmosphere a little bit.
Yeah. I'm there like, we work there every day, and I'm in the office, anywhere between 8 to 14 hours a day. Just get sick of seeing the same shit. So it was really handy, and I love it. I love our clients love it. The new table, new floors, just gives it a bit more of a fresh feel.
Give more of an oomph.
A bit of an oomph.
Yeah. Bumps you up a little bit more to come into a nice office.
Yep.
Other than that, I think it's kind of been the same for us. We've just been, eat, work, sleep, repeat.
Yeah. Just going through the challenges, and things are just getting harder and harder to secure land. It's just, if there's not one problem, there's always something else in terms of like different challenges in the industry, but just navigating our way through it, working hard and trying to travel as much as we can at the same time.
Yes. So, ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go. Smash it.
You go.
Oh, fuck, I'm doing. Okay, cool.
No, okay.
All right, so we're going to start with what are we going to do about if you want to do a demo rebuild concept?
Okay. Let's start off with
Here we go.
the beginning. What is a demo rebuild? So,
Demolishing a site and rebuilding a new one on there.
So normally a demo rebuild is where you knock down a pre-existing home. Generally speaking, it's probably an older home that's kind of too small for what you want on quite a large block, because way back when they used to build quite small homes
On big blocks.
on huge blocks. And back then blocks were of like 800 square meters
As an average.
was kind of like standard.
Yes.
Whereas trying to find a block that size in new developments is quite difficult.
Very, very difficult, and huge dollars too.
Yeah, huge price tag attached to it as well. And generally speaking, you would do a demo rebuild if like you love the neighborhood, you love your street, you love the neighborhood, the suburb, and you've like grown up there, or like this is where you really want to establish yourself. You just don't love the house. So you knock it down and build a new home on the existing land.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what's the process?
Okay, so first off, number one is budget. So when you're looking at a demo rebuild, you need to take into account that depending on when you're trying to purchase into the market, you may be risking a bit of overcapitalization in that area, because with established properties, you are buying the block of land and it just has a house attached to it. So if you're paying for that property at a premium and then you're trying to look at demolishing it and then building a whole new establishment, it's not going to just double the worth of that property. So you need to take a lot of things into consideration, so that, because if you overcapitalize, that means that the bank is most likely not going to allow enough money for you to actually go through with the entire process. So budget, number one, you need to figure out how much you can afford,
Yeah,
right?
that's always step number one.
That's always, but you got to remember, like, you've got to put some more contingencies in place with that.
I think it's, quick side note, it depends how you are acquiring the land.
Okay.
So it depends, like maybe you've inherited like your family home and this is like your childhood home and you like would very much love to move back to the neighborhood.
Yep.
So that home may not come with any debt. It might be already paid in full, like
Cool.
your grandparents has passed away,
Yep.
and you have inherited that land. Then it's significantly cheaper
Absolutely.
than buying a new block of land and building a house on top of it.
Yes.
Versus if you are buying kind of the shittest house on the best street, then you're going to be paying for the house and the land,
Yes. And then a new build on
and
top.
then you've got to pay to demolish the house, and then you've got to pay for a new build, which is
Yes.
what Nick's mentioning, where you might be overcapitalizing.
Potentially. Some of these new areas in this current market, you can do whatever the fuck you want and happy days, because everyone's paying whatever the fuck they can
Yeah.
for a property. It's just so insane. So that's just one side of it that you got to look into. It depends on your circumstance. We're getting a lot of clients that have been in that property for the last couple of years, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, and now they're going, this ain't happening. Like,
Yeah.
this ain't working. We're going to look at demo rebuild. That's actually quite a good point to consider it, because you've already been paying that mortgage for a couple of years, and with the current market of what's happening in Perth, what's basically happening is the value of those properties are substantially just soaring. So all of a sudden, if you do want to demo and build a new one, it's actually going to help with the valuations, and you might actually have enough to be able to do it comfortably rather than overcapitalizing, because your property is already building value, mostly in the land, and you're not even doing anything.
Yeah.
So it can definitely work. It's just don't just go blasé into it. You need to have a bit of a plan in place. That's all it is. And the biggest thing you can really want to start with is having a conversation, getting all the information, doing some surveys, and then like we'll go through the process and get it all nutted out before you commit to just going, I'm going to demolish it.
Yeah.
But definitely it can be done, should be, because at the end, especially if there's other properties that have also been demolished and rebuilt in similar area, it fucking helps so much with the banks.
So similar to building where you kind of acquire the land and you get your surveyors and engineers coming out to the land, you kind of have to do that
Up front.
So
Absolutely.
if you can get your budget established, great, and then you start talking to whichever builder you're choosing to talk to, and they will come out and meet you at your house or the house or the land that you are acquiring or have acquired. They do a meeting on the site and they do a site survey to ensure that
Who's doing the survey?
normally the builder, I think.
No,
The builder doesn't do it?
I'll let you know how it goes. No.
Okay. Well,
No.
off your pot.
Okay, so number one, before you talk to a builder, it's normally best for the client to actually go and just order a survey and engineer report,
Okay.
because then because not every builder is going to look at demo rebuild options. So having that information for yourself can then make the life for the builder quite a bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose not to do that and you just want to chat to a builder to do it, you can have the conversation, and most of the time, it's called a feasibility assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that the builder's going to go, cool, we will consider building in this area. However, we're going to get a upfront payment from you, so then we can actually go through and do the survey and all of these things and quote it as close as possible with the concept that you're wanting, potential for for the demolition if they are willing to do it with their own contractors, or if you need to do it. Finalize the site works, because that can be a very big one that can change from each suburb, and then present that to the client afterwards and go, based on this is what you've paid for, this is where it's going to literally sit, are you willing to go for it? And the client can sit there and they're not obligated to go ahead, and they can get that information back to themselves to reconsider with other builders.
Okay.
So that's the only way that the builder will do it. They don't need to really visit the site. They need to get that survey, because you don't know what you're dealing with. And that's what the surveys are really there for, because based on a image or images of the property, and even going on site, you don't know where sometimes that the sewer mains are, the water mains, gas lines, because it's all very different. Sometimes you've got easements on properties like that on the bigger blocks. So it's, to the naked eye, you can't see it all. So they can have a look, but then it instantly always goes to a survey and engineer's report.
Yep. After that, if everything is going well, it kind of goes to the standing building process, in the sense of you start designing a home.
Yes.
And you start costing the home.
Yep.
And then when you get all of your approvals and everything completed in the administration phase, you'll be moving out, and then the demolition starts.
Yes.
Demolition can take a couple of weeks or a month or month and a half.
It depends. The process is a little bit different, how each builder will work it, as well as the client's circumstances. Sometimes the clients want to stay in that home for as long as possible before having to move out to family property or renting or whatever the situation is, because we've done quite a few demo rebuilds. So normally how we've seen the approach go, so you pull the trigger, like you've got the quote, you've finalised the sketch, we've done the surveys, we know what we're in for. You go through the process like Julia's mentioned, start with the administration process. And normally, if you're trying to stay in the property, the builder will try and liaise it so that we can get as much of those permits as possible. And then when we get to that last little bit, we'll normally notify the clients and go, cool, look, we're probably going to site within the next 6 to 8 weeks. You need to move now.
Vacate.
You need to vacate ASAP, because we need to start the process if they're trying to do the demolition as a whole package.
Yep.
And what will then happen is it will go to the, obviously it's going for the permits, get all that approved, that they can begin it. And the first thing that normally happens is the baiting period. So that's basically they put all the bait traps and all of that, make sure that there's no fucking vermin and all that, like your rats and all.
Vermin.
That's what they're called.
It's just
Vermin. So yeah, so like all that type of shit. Once that's all cleared, then the demolition itself can begin. And the demolition cost can obviously substantially differ with different companies, what level of finish that they're leaving the site afterwards, because it has to be specifically compacted and ready to basically build. As less work as possible for the builder, that's what they want.
Yep.
So sometimes they will charge a little bit extra for the work rather than just, I'm going to come in with a fucking bobcat and some shit and just start demolishing shit. Like, they need to do a bit better.
Yeah, basically.
Of a finish.
So more or less, they're going to be clearing the land to make sure it's build ready.
Definitely, yeah.
And generally speaking, fencing will stay.
Yes.
Unless it's prior specified. Unless there's a reason why the fencing needs to change. And if it does, the builder, the client, both will need to liaise with both their neighbours or all three of their neighbours.
Yeah. Normally it's like one side of the boundary usually, because a lot of the times with concepts, the garage normally goes right on the boundary, depending on the design, how it's worked. If that comes into play, there are some additional forms that need to be complete, like a BA20 form, which is basically getting the neighbour's approval and all that to remove a certain portion of the fencing, provide some temporary fencing during the course of the build. But that also, because your fencing is like the shared property, like shared boundary type of thing, you need to get their approvals. And sometimes if you've got shit neighbours, that can really start delaying the process. So the sooner you get into that, getting all of that signed, that's normally by contract stage. Normally that can come out. And then, you can have the discussion with the neighbour or the builder needs to. We need to get those approvals in place just to avoid issues down the track.
Yep. And then the new build more or less starts happening.
Yeah. Once demolition's completely done, the permits are received, it's like a normal job.
Yep.
It's like a normal job. It's just the initial bit is a little bit more complicated and can add a bit of time. I would normally say if you're comparing a normal construction build with some very reputable builders that we use, you're probably looking at between 12 to 18 months from the moment you pay a deposit to picking up the keys with our builders, which we have done, some even less. And when you're looking at demolition, those builders are in that same time frame, but maybe you need to allow anywhere between 2 to 4 months extra.
Yeah.
Just to allow for that demolition and to try and time it all. Do you know what I mean? But the real big benefit is the fact that you're not waiting for titles because the house is already built, so you can actually action things quite a lot more quicker than standard.
Well, that answered the next question, which is how long will it take?
Okay.
How
Do you want to talk about cost-wise?
I was going to say, how much does the actual demo cost? And I think people don't realize I realized that it's cheaper than what I thought.
Yeah, because, Okay, so it's gone up a lot over the years. The very, very first demo that I've ever done, it costed the client $15K.
Yep.
Right. And then the most recent one that we did, it was still a couple of years ago. That was about 18.5, 20K. Now the average can be anywhere between 20 to 30 plus.
Yep.
The biggest thing with the demolition and when they're trying to do it all is they obviously, a lot of those demo companies, they're trying to salvage as much as possible from that property. So doors, windows, cabinets, stuff like that. If there's anything that's worth salvaging, that can help them reduce the costs. Because obviously they get all of that. The biggest things that really do increase the cost is asbestos removal. That, especially depending on when the house is built, definitely the more older properties, you need to watch out for that. That definitely is a potential. And even like asbestos fencing and shit, that can cost you quite a lot more because, yes, technically you can remove it, wrap it up and get a professional to come and do it all. We don't recommend doing it on your own. There are rules and regulations about that.
Yep.
But as soon as you got a company that needs to do it, it has to be a specific type of person with different permits and experience with that shit. It's just dollars. It's just extra dollars to do it. So definitely make sure that you have an inspection or have an idea if you've got any of that and that you're bringing that forward to the builder as soon as possible because that can substantially change some of the costings for that.
Yeah, so to sum that up, and I'm going to add some extra, approximately let's say 25 to 30
Yeah.
on average.
Yeah, on average, yeah.
On average.
It might be a little bit cheaper.
It
Fuck,
could
if
be.
you get it cheaper, great. But
we
as a
work
rough
on,
idea,
we work on,
worst case scenario.
but it can go up on depending on the complexity.
Yes.
And keeping in mind to make sure the quote includes or doesn't include, like, check the items that it is removing all the vegetation and roots.
Yes.
Swimming pools.
If needed. Yep.
If needed.
Yeah, if it's within the envelope of what we need.
Yep. The removal of asbestos.
Yep.
Sheds and other buildings. If needed.
If required, yeah.
Septic tanks, soak wells,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
septic tanks is a big one where in some older properties, they just left there and they've like collapsed. Fuck, it's a pain in the ass to get rid of them.
And council crossovers. So check
Yeah.
what's included in the removal and what needs to be removed if it's within the area that the builder's going to be working in.
Julie's making some sound effects with the nails on the table.
Talking with my hands.
Yeah, so no, 100%. Like I do too. But the council crossovers, so that is a big one because sometimes you need to have that completely relocated depending on what's happening with the site. So you do actually have to rip it up, get it all redone, and then do your new crossover, which is just additional costs. So you've got your site works, and then you may see some of these things. Additional repegging is required after the demo's been done. So because you get it pegged at first with the whole site, and then you have to get it repegged. So there are additional things that, based on a standard build, is a bit more complex, and these will add more costs. But if you can have them all narrowed down and, finalised for you, then you know exactly what you're in for up front.
Yep.
And that can still change between builder to builder.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't expect, let's say one builder says that your total site works with demo is like 58K, 60, and then the next one's 90. They might be charging the same thing, but what happens is some builders tack in quite a bit of the allowances into their base price of the home that they cover as standard. And then some of the builders that come off a bit cheaper, but their site works are higher because they charge the full amount. They're not adding that into their base price of the home. So it just depends on how the builders structure it all, and sometimes lack of experience, so they just throw more money at it or underquote it.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about this before. It's the same with like you standard builders or the ones that
some of the big ones,
use for your
greenfield
new
sites.
builds. Yeah. I was like green what?
Greenfield, greenfield sites.
For your new builds, like same concept, same ideology.
Yeah, because you can't really fix them. They have to be provisional until all of the the quotes from the earth workers, from the engineering reports, everything like that is back before you can actually finalise it.
Yeah. Anything else to add?
Yes. They are a bit more complicated. It is pretty cool when we get them done. Having sites, obviously, that have already been demolished definitely makes life fucking easier.
Oh, yeah.
If not, then not a problem. Just be prepared. It's not as simple as generic site works and then just a cost to demolish. It is quite a bit more it's a bit more involved. And we just want to make sure that with the builders, they just want to make sure that they cover all their bases up front, so then there's no hidden nasty surprises halfway down the track. That's the last thing anyone really wants, is to have a conversation going, hey, by the way, your price has gone up because we forgot to do this and this before because we were trying to rush. We've got builders that can do them. We are potentially looking at another one as well, just to help with the workflow that we've got.
Yeah.
Currently, obviously, a lot of people know that we work with Levita, which is great. They don't do demo rebuilds. They just stick to their type of projects, which is more the new developments, the greenfield sites. We do have one of our builders, Progen. So now, as of August, because we just got the email 2 days ago, they are closing the books until December 2024. They've got enormous amount of work, which is awesome.
Yep.
Great to know. And we've obviously tried to throw a couple here and there to help them out. And yeah, they came back and they said, look, like, we need to calm it down now. Otherwise, our administration is going to start ramping up into longer delays, and we don't want to take on more than we can chew.
Yep.
So we're going to cut it off, and then we can reassess and see how things go, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's all we can fucking ask for.
Honestly, that's what we
That's
search
all we
for.
need
For a
to-
builder
yeah.
to say, you know what, we are capped out at the moment. We
Yep.
need to reduce some of the jobs. We need to finish off some jobs before
Yep.
we take on more. And that's the kind of mentality we're seeking in a builder.
And transparency.
Because if they just keep taking business and then things start delaying, in administration or on site, that's when issues
Shit goes
come
wrong.
up.
Yeah, and we don't want that. And we love working with builders like that. So while they might be quieter, we might be able to look at something. We've had quite a few builders we always do, but the last probably 2 or 3 months, we've had quite a few start reaching out, and they can do similar sites like that. So we might have some conversations with them as well.
So if you're a builder,
if you're a builder that you're happy to be transparent and all that, we're always willing to have a conversation. Doesn't mean we're going to take it on. However, it's something that we're looking into. But in the meantime, for clients, this process is a lot longer. So it doesn't mean hold off until November. That's when you want to be pulling triggers.
Yep.
November, December, Jan. Do you know what I mean? When the builder's ready to open the books. But that means you might need to start the conversation, start having those things, and we can help. Some people want to do like whole subdivision and shit and, build on them. Same thing. They can do them. But the first thing you need to do, start the conversation, get the surveys, start that plan, because that process can be 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that really come into play. But if you want to do this type of shit, can be done. We can assist. We're not going to take on a lot of it. We only take on a little bit here and there. If you're still seeking double story type of concepts for that shit, I'm just not doing them. I'm refusing to do double story. Too difficult, too much. No thank you. Single story, happy days. I'm happy to look into it and entertain and try and give you guys as much information as possible. That's what we're all about. Whether or not you use us or whatever, if you have more info than what you started, I've done my fucking job.
Yep.
And it's something that we never really had. So I just want to make sure we're always giving that to everyone, no matter what. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yes. I do not remember. I'm very sorry. I don't remember who asked us to talk about this topic, but I hope this is...
But he does listen to our podcast.
Yes.
I can't remember the name. Sorry, Ledge. I will probably fucking look on my phone and remember. I'm like, fuck.
Yep.
But until then... Shout out to him. He knows who he is because he'll be listening to this. Because he actually requested a bit more info, which is literally everything we've just said. I just had that phone chat with him. So for anyone out there that is thinking about it, 100% this is what it's all about. If this isn't the top episode for you, no qualms. You've already listened to the whole thing. So sorry, not sorry. You can just tune into the next one and we'll probably do something else. But yeah, like if anyone's got stuff like this, ideas or things that you want us to talk about, like, or you want us to do refresher courses on little courses.
Of course, here we go.
If you some refresher like episodes on some of the ones that we've done and just see if there's anything more into it, 100% happy to do it. Like, we're here to give you guys information. And we know we're starting to get tuned into a lot with a lot of viewers and listeners, which is awesome. And I love you guys for it. So if you've got something that you want us to talk about, just let us know and I'll lay it out.
Yeah, I'm also running out of ideas. So
no, we've got ideas. Not
some
a stupid amount, but if there's something that they want us to try and prioritize, 100%, that's what this is all about.
All right, plug. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, on our website, Google, YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify.
Yes.
If you could leave a review or a rating, that would be amazing. Hit the subscribe or the follow button. And just remember, guys, we're not here
To fuck spiders.
Have a good day.
Cheers.
Bye.